Welcome to our channel. We're so happy to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe and help us hit our goal of 100,000 subscribers. August 1945. After B-29 raids, Japan's Marifu rail yards lie in ruins, marking the last days of a devastating war. Circa early 1920s, a cheerful crowd of women enjoying the beach, their joy a testament to post-war liberation and early feminism. 1963. A nurse holds a sick child during the smallpox epidemic. A haunting image of care and courage in the face of a devastating outbreak. 1941. Jean Tierney stars in Sundown. Her beauty and grace unforgettable against the backdrop of wartime drama. 1960s, U.S. Ambassador Henry Cat Lodge displays a Soviet bugging device hidden inside the Great Seal, a Cold War spy thriller made real. 1928. Josephine Dunn and Nye Edwards perform in a now-lost silent film, their chemistry frozen in a mysterious fading frame. Silent film actress Doris Dawson in a photograph by Edwin Bauer Hesser, circa 1928. Unfortunately, she didn't transition well to sound movies because critics said she had a grating voice. Herero in Chains. During the colonial period in German Southwest Africa, now Namibia, the Germans brutally suppressed the indigenous population. At least 60% Herero and 50% Nama population were killed in the Herero and Nama genocide, 1904-08. Unusual and rare photograph of Winston Churchill feeding his pet white kangaroo, Digger, the only albino kangaroo in Europe, at London Zoo, Regent's Park, 1948. An Indian woman, a Japanese woman, and a Syrian woman, all training to be doctors at Women's Medical College of Philadelphia. October 10, 1885. Agatha Christie, renowned for her masterful detective novels, also harbored a lesser-known passion for surfing. In 1922, during a visit to Waikiki Beach in Hawaii, she became one of the first Western women to ride a surfboard. Captured Jews during Warsaw Ghetto uprising led by the Germans for deportation to death camps. Picture taken at Noah Lippi Street, near the intersection with Smocha. A protester shows the blood-stained shirt of Edson Luiz de Lima Souto, one of the first students to be killed by the Brazilian military dictatorship, March 28, 1968. A terrible sight. Children dressed in rags were forced to work in non-safe environments, their innocent young faces reddened from a workday that seemed to never end, and the abolishment of child labor was unfortunately decades away. The coronation of the Emperor of the Central African Republic, Bokassa. It consumed a third of the car's budget, and among the dishes served was the meat of his political opponents. Jackie Robinson, a baseball hero for the Brooklyn Dodgers, sits with his wife Rachel on the front steps of their house in 1949, holding his baby son Jackie Jr. on his lap. Nina Lean took the picture. New York. Miss Henrietta Miele giving an iron ring to a contributor, October 22, 1914. During World War I, German Americans started program Gold für Eisen, where donors traded their gold wedding rings for iron ones, which was used to fund the German war effort. Ira Hayes, a Native American Marine immortalized raising the American flag over Iwo Jima, sits in a Los Angeles jail cell, 1953. Crippling PTSD and unwanted fame saw Hayes arrested 52 times for public intoxication after the war. He froze to death in the Arizona desert while drunk in 1955. Soldiers of the Russian Expeditionary Corps landed in Marseille, France, April 20, 1916. An elderly man who carried chairs on his back and rented them out for 10 cents to weary tourists, Constantinople, 1920. A woman tests a stroller intended to be resistant to gas attacks in Hextable, England in 1938, not long before the outbreak of World War II. I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, American International Pictures, circa 1957. German hunter posing with a killed lion, German East Africa, 1929. A girl lays flowers at the base of a memorial stone at Champaign Park, Michigan, in Allen Park on May 30th, 1959. The Detroit News Archives. Lorraine Hansberry, David Cogan, Lloyd Richards, Philip Rose, and Sidney Poitier from the original 1959 Broadway production of A Raisin in the Sun. An ethnic Albanian demonstrator gasps for breath after he was beaten by riot police, while a policeman, C, runs through tear gas during clashes in the center of Pristina, March 2, 1998. In 1969, when Black Americans were still prevented from swimming alongside whites, Mr. Rogers decided to invite Officer Clemens to join him and cool his feet in a pool. Japanese soldiers fighting in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894. Hollywood legend and actress Jane Mansfield poses on a couch on the set of the television show The Bachelor, 1950s. At the turn of the 20th century, tens of thousands of children worked as newsboys in cities across the United States. They would buy bundles of newspapers from publishers and then sell them on the street. Most newsboys were poor, many were homeless, and some began working as young as 4 years old. Walt Disney in a Chilean Huaso costume in 1941 during a tour across Latin America. Portrait of Dina Sanichar, boy raised by wolves and so-called real-life Mowgli, circa 1890. Louis Leakey wearing his iconic coveralls over his tuxedo at a Leakey Foundation fundraising event, sometime between 1968 to 1972. Carol Burnett, with cinematographer Joseph Ruttenberg during production of Daniel Mann's Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed, 1963. Clara Bow photographed for her first talkie The Wild Party, 1928, released in 1929. As Soviets approached Berlin, the citizens of the city did their best to take care of zoo animals, 1945. In 1969, when Black Americans were still prevented from swimming alongside whites, Mr. Rogers decided to invite Officer Clemens to join him and cool his feet in a pool. At the turn of the 20th century, tens of thousands of children worked as newsboys in cities across the United States. They would buy bundles of newspapers from publishers and then sell them on the street. Most newsboys were poor, many were homeless, and some began working as young as 4 years old. Olympic swimmer Jenny Fletcher in her prime during the 1910s. She won gold and silver in the 1912 Olympics in Sweden. Royal Navy warship HMS Cossack has rescued the last known survivor from sunken battleship Bismarck, a ship's cat found clinging to floating debris. He's been named Oscar, the naval signal for man overboard. 1922. Dorothy Arnold in the Greenwich Village Follies of 1922, photographed by Edwin Bauer Hesser. In 1933, A.L. Khan caught a 5,000-pound manta ray off the coast of Florida, and then he brought it to New Jersey, naturally. This is what an authentic mint-condition Woodstock 1969 ticket looks like. This is what some of the first New York City tour buses looked like in 1904. In 1984, a giant dinosaur replica was moved via a helicopter to the Boston Museum of Science. This is apparently an 8th grade test from 1912. Are you passing it? Photo of Dr. Seuss sketching the Grinch for his then-upcoming book How the Grinch Stole Christmas in 1957. The picture from 1930 shows what the Empire State Building looked like while it was under construction. This is what the gravesite of President James Monroe looks like. This is Louisa Ann Swain, the first American woman to ever vote in a general election. The vote happened in 1870, 5 decades before the 19th Amendment granted voting rights to all American women. This is the 107th U.S. Colored Infantry, pictured here in 1865. A photo of teenage James Dean in the late 40s, when he played on his high school's basketball team. By all accounts, he was pretty good. This is a photo of when construction began on Mount Rushmore in 1929. Steve and Terry Irwin, 1992. A little boy called Freddie Somar, saying goodbye to his parents at King's Cross Station in London because he was being relocated to the safety of the countryside at the start of World War II, 1939. This is what an Abercrombie & Fitch store looked like in 1959. Debbie Harry, with body decorations painted on her by H.R. Geiger, on the set of the music video for Now I Know You Know. 1981 is Hot by Disneyland photographer René Bardot. This is the last photo taken of Walt Disney at Disneyland in 1966.